Good Wednesday morning, my friends. We've made it halfway through this week. I apologize for yesterday's videos. They were having some major technical difficulties. What I found out is that the district filters were blocking my YouTube channel so that when you tried to click on it, it was telling you that it was unavailable. So I contacted the district and I got my YouTube channel approved. So I'm a YouTube star. I'm just kidding. And so any video that I upload will now be able to be viewed by you through Google Classroom. So happy day. Also, my friends, please make sure that you are working on your math. Okay, we're looking for 2 pages a day at minimum, and that you're practicing your multiplication facts. Okay, I want flashcards. If you don't have flashcards, I want you to make some. Cut some papers into some rectangles, write the facts on there, and practice. Play some games with it. Do whatever you think would be fun to practice those, but get those multiplication facts memorized. All right. Aerith's birthday. Here we go. So yesterday, Tumble was howling, "I want my daddy." And appalled Aerith looked back over his shoulder to see if Flip and Nimble were watching and listening. To his great relief, they were nowhere in sight. He could only hope they had gone down into the safety of the den and had not witnessed any of this. Aerith turned back to Tumble. The young fox was just sitting there, his head low, looking miserable. "Tumble," Aerith began, not knowing what else to say. "Go away!" the fox screamed, not looking up. "I hate you. I wish you were dead." "I'm just..." Aerith looked around again to see if anyone else was listening. When he saw no one, he said, "I'm just trying to help." "We don't need your help," Tumble bade. Aerith sighed. "Someone had to tell you about your mother." "Right, but you just barged in and blurted it out like the stupid animal you are. I mean, it was our mother, not yours." Cringing, Aerith struggled to find a reply. "But," he finally got out, "you need to know about the traps, didn't you?" "I suppose," Tumble conceded through renewed sobs. "But now that Flip, not you, figured out the way to find them, you're not necessary." What about food?" Aerith asked. "We don't like vegetables," Tumble cried. "We like meat, and you don't hunt. So you're as useless as a parboiled pumpkin puke." Shocked, Aerith's mouth opened wide, but no words came out. The next moment he sputtered, "That's it. I give up. Do what you want. Drop dead for all I care." With that, he pushed past Tumble and began to stumble through the snow toward Dimwood Forest. Tumble did not look around, but continued to stare down at his feet and the exposed trap just a few inches away. Here's a picture of the last trap that he found. Only when he was certain that Aerith had gone did he lift his head and gaze after the retreating porcupine. "Goodbye," Tumble whispered. The tears began to flow again. "Salamander sap salad," Aerith cried as he breast through the snow in the direction of the forest. Deeply upset, he was breathing heavily, snorting wrath with every trembling step he took. "Try and help. You try to help idiots and you get idiotic," he reminded himself. "Kill yourself for kids and they kill you first. Ungrateful, spoiled brats. Phooey on all children. with a squashed boll weevil on top. Let them do what they want. They aren't my responsibility. He paused and looked around to see where he was going. I'll go back to the forest the way I came, get myself some decent food, then head right for that log cabin. Gobble up some salt. I mean, why should I care about a bunch of bungling, unappreciative babies? Aerith, all the while, pushing steadily through the field. From his lookout on the aspen tree branch, Marty the fisher spied Aerith moving toward the forest. At last, he cried, barely able to suppress his excitement. I knew I was right to wait, and he's coming in my direction. Well, Aerith, you're in for one big Marty the Fisher surprise. With that, the fisher checked to make sure he was certain of the exact spot where Aerith would enter the forest. Then he scrambled down from the tree, raced for a hiding place. Now I've got him, he excluded. Aerith has some other thoughts. Aerith was halfway across the field on his way to the forest when he suddenly came to a stop. Bouncing balls of beeswax, he muttered with horror. The traps! I'm so furious I'd forgotten all about them. I'm acting blind and brainless. Any moment now, I could be stepping right into one of those. If I do, I'll maim myself, possibly kill myself. Anxiously, he swung about and took a step back along the trail he'd made through the snow. He now realized, lucky enough to have come as far as he had without harm. It would be best to return by walking the same steps he had just made. He could get back to safety. But no sooner did he take one step back than he spied Tumble. The young fox, head low, was walking slowly toward the den. Just to see him filled Aerith with rage. Monkey marbles, he shouted out loud. No way am I going back there. With that, he spun about and faced the trees, only to have his nerves fail him again. But if I'm caught in a trap... I know, I'll make a snowball just the way those kits did. If I have to, I'll push it all the way home. Aerith set about to shape a ball, only to quickly realize his legs were far too short for the job. Great galloping guppy-guck, he cried with rage that brought tears to his eyes. I don't know which way to go. Trembling, Aerith stood in the middle of the field facing the forest. More than anything else, he wanted to lose himself in the trees, then find a way back to his own lovely log. How he yearned to return to his gloomy, stinky home, to wallow in his own muck, to have a soothing talk with Poppy. Oh, to be anywhere but he was here. And yet he could not make himself go forward. He was too afraid. Better to go back to the safety of the den. No, he didn't want to do that either. The kits hated him, didn't want him. He turned about. Even as he stood there, a breeze swept across the field, carrying snow. To his horror, the tracks he had just made began to disappear. If he didn't go back immediately, he'd have to break a new trail with the danger of stepping into a trap. One moment, Aerith was in a rage. The next moment, he felt soft and weepy. What was happening to him? His helplessness was frightening. Oh, sloth swill soup with bird-dropping stuffing, he shouted into the air. I can't go anywhere. Then, all of a sudden, an even more terrible thought came to him. What if even some of the things Tumble had said were true? Could he really be so dreadful? Was he really a bad creature? Had he, in fact, become old without noticing? The answer came in the form of a cold shiver that went through his whole body. Yes, it was so. Everything the young fox had said was true. He was an awful creature. He was old. He was bossy. No one bothered about his birthday because he wasn't worth bothering about. What's more, there was nothing he could do about it. He was too set in his ways to change. He was worthless. He might as well be dead. Aerith shut his eyes against the thought. Aerith? At first, Aerith was not sure he heard his name, but the call came again, slightly more insistent. Aerith? Someone was calling him. Aerith opened his eyes. No one in front of him, nor to the side. He looked back. It was Flip. In spite of himself, Aerith scowled. Flip stood some way off, afraid to come any closer. Aerith? He called again cautiously. It sounded like a question, as if he were unsure he should even say the name. Aerith felt his anger returning. What is it? He growled. Can I talk to you? About what, Tinklebrain? The porcupine said, though he immediately regretted having spoken so. Aerith, Tumble came back to the den. What about it? He told us what he said to you. He's very upset. Aerith thought of saying, what about me? But held his tongue. So here's Aerith stuck in that spot because he's afraid his tracks are going to get covered by snow. And there's Flip coming to talk to him. He said that he yelled at you, Flip went on, that he said a lot of awful things that made you go away. Aerith grunted. I just wanted to tell you that what he said isn't the way Nimble and I feel. Aerith, unprepared for the searing pain he felt, stared at the young fox. Turning, he shifted away from Flip and gazed longingly into the forest. Flip drew a little closer. Aerith, he called, I'm glad you came to us. I like you. Aerith sniffed. I wish you'd come back, Flip coaxed. We found 2 more traps. You did? How many did you say there were? Flip asked. After a moment, Aerith said, Tumble just found another one. With the one you found before, it adds up to 5 altogether. Then there was the one your mom found. Those trappers said they put down 16. If we can believe them, that means there are just 9 left. We could find them, Flip said. I'm sure we could. But Aerith, don't you think it would be better if you stayed with us? Aerith continued to face the forest. Perhaps he should live alone, the way he had spent most of his life before he met Poppy. When he was alone, no one hurt him. No one ignored him. Being alone was safe. I mean, maybe you could just stay with us until our dad gets back, Flip said. Collar-watching catfish, Aerith cried. For all you know, he may never come back. Oh, sure he will, Flip said. He cares for us a lot. He does. It's just that he's very busy. I mean, he has to take care of his business. What about my business? Aerith, Flip pleaded. Tumble is very upset. I don't think he meant what he said. Aerith sighed. Did you hear me? Flip asked. Maybe it was true, Aerith whispered. Well, even if what he said was a little bit true, please, I still think we need you. Aerith turned around and faced him. You really want me to stay? Yes, Aerith sighed. All right, but only until we find the rest of the traps or till your father gets back, whichever comes first. Oh, wow, that's so great of you, Flip said excitingly. I'll go tell the others. With that, he turned and bounded back along the trail toward the den. He had not gone 10 steps when he stopped and returned to Aerith. Now what? Aerith demanded. There's something else I want you to know. What? Aerith said, preparing for the worst. I really like you, Flip said. I mean, you're really sweet. With that, the young fox hurried back onto the den. Aerith stared after the young fox. Reaching up, he touched his nose on the spot where Poppy had once kissed it. Sweet, he muttered, and then with a grimace, sweet is a word for nitwits and gumdrops, not me. It'll only be for a short time, he told himself, a very short time. With that, he began to waddle back along the trail Flip had just made, telling himself that it was, after all, the safest way to get anywhere. Marty the Fisher watched with bitter disappointment as Aerith headed back toward the bluff. He's gone back to them, he growled. That means I'm going to have to find some other way to get him alone. He thought for a while, then he smiled. Maybe it's time I found Father Fox. Yes, I think I'll let Bounder know exactly what's going on. He'll flush that silly porcupine out. With that thought, Marty whirled around and raced into the forest. So there's Marty the Fisher racing back into the forest to find Bounder, who is the father. All right, my friends. Next chapter is called In Search of Food. Remember, we're having some issues with food. They haven't been able to get some because of the traps and because they'd eat totally different things. All right, it's Wednesday. I want everyone to think of positive things. Also, remember, in our Google Classroom, there is an assignment called something about a journal entry. If you type something and write a journal entry there, I can see it on my computer and I can type something back to you in response. So if you're interested in letting me know what you've done so far, and if I can write you a little note back, go ahead and put it in the Google Doc that is under Journal, and I will see it and write you back. I've already written some kids back. So maybe you're next. Happy Wednesday, my friends. I miss you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.